In this demonstration video, I'm going to show you how to make a viewfinder. Okay, there's a part of this video that is optional. When I get to that part, which will probably be near the end of the video, I'll tell you when that happens. Okay, so what you'll need, everything that you'll need for this is you will need a pencil with an eraser. You'll need a Sharpie maybe. A ruler, and I have two different rulers. I'll explain the differences between those two. You'll need an X-Acto knife. You'll need a square piece of, this is poster board. Okay, so it's a little thicker than regular boards. Okay, you'll need a cutting mat, this right here. You'll need tape for later. You'll need, and you'll need this transparency film, so this is completely clear. Okay, this is part of the optional part. Okay, but I'm going to just put what I don't need to the side for right now. Okay. Now I just got some extra lines on here I forgot to erase, so I'm going to do that really quick. Okay, there we go. That looks better. Now I'm just going to write my name in the corner of this. Okay, so we are making a viewfinder again. A viewfinder is sort of like, well, it's a tool that you can use to focus on things that you are drawing from real life. Okay, that's why it's called a viewfinder. Okay, first what we're going to do is make a sort of frame, sort of like a picture frame. Okay, so you will get a square of this poster board paper, I guess. It's kind of thicker than cardboard. It's more sturdier. It's mat board. Sorry, this is mat board. Okay. This is a 6 by 6 piece of mat board, 6 inches by 6 inches. What you'll need to do is you're going to take your ruler and you are going to measure an inch from the edge on both the bottom and top, and you're going to make a line. Okay, so this is an inch border. Okay, and you're going to do that on every side. This will be like the frame part of your viewfinder. You have the option of using a tool like this. This is a type of ruler. It's actually used for sewing, and the squares, so like this big square right here is an inch. Okay, I will show you personally how to use these rulers. They're actually really handy because then you don't have to measure anything twice. And I used it to make this square. Okay, so after you have your lines drawn like this, we're going to be cutting out the center. So I'm going to put a big X on here because I don't need that anymore. That's when you're going to use your X-Acto knife. That one has a cover. I thought it went in there, but it didn't. Okay, so you're just going to cut on the lines. This mat board or poster board is a lot thicker than normal paper, so you're going to have to press down a lot harder than you normally would with an X-Acto knife. I might not even get through it, so we'll look at the back after I'm done. Yep, I didn't even break through the whole paper. So I'm going to go over it just one more time. There, I went through it. I'm just using scrap, that's why there's a big T on the back of this. Just want to use something that I have that's not important that I could just reuse. Okay, and then you're going to do that on every single side to cut out this square. okay if you cut off the lines like I did. Like I went around the line on this side on accident. This is just something that you use to look at an object. It's not really important if it looks pretty and perfect. Cutting, it takes the longest, I think, than drawing stuff when you're making stuff like this, like a viewfinder. Corners are a lot harder to cut, and with an X-Acto knife you're not pressing down as hard on the corner than the rest of the line. Okay, now I got this frame cut out. Just got a little piece I want to cut off right there. You could technically use your viewfinder like this. Maybe if I was looking at this right here, I could use this to focus on it, to go up close, stuff like that. I'm going to show you the optional part of this video. So if you are done with your viewfinder at this point, the whole video is done for this. Okay, let me show you the optional part right now. Okay, I'm going to put my little frame to the side. Okay, now I'm going to grab my transparency film. Okay, you can actually see this pretty well, so I'm not going to do this under the other paper. So this can kind of act like the glass in your frame, in your picture frame. Okay, but we're going to do some more to this. First, what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of transparency film and your frame, and you're just going to place them on top of each other. I put the frame on top of this transparency film. Then you're going to take your Sharpie and you're going to trace around the edges of this picture frame. You need to use a Sharpie. Other markers will just rub off this transparency film. Sharpies will stay. And I don't care what color you use, so if you have like a green Sharpie, I don't care. I'm going to do the inside square as well. Okay. So now if I take it off, I got my picture frame. Okay. What you can do to kind of put a grid over everything is you can draw a grid on this. Okay. I'm going to use my regular ruler so you can kind of see how to do this with a regular ruler. So if I'm just measuring the inside square, it is almost 4 inches. I'm just going to say it's 4 inches by 4 inches. Okay, it's a little smaller, but we're just going to say it's 4 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little hatch mark at every ½ inch. Yeah, well, no, let's just do every inch. So you're going to make a little hatch mark at every inch. The inch is the long line. So if this is the top, I'm going to do the same to the bottom right here. Okay. And then I'm going to take my ruler and line up those two little hatch marks and draw a line. And then you're going to do the same thing to the sides. Nope, let me start with one. I was measuring on the wrong end. Oops, I smudged a little bit. Oh well. Guess it wasn't dry enough. Just be careful when you do this because it can smudge, and I just learned that. So I'm just going to go over this line again just so I know it's okay to draw, to see. Okay, there we go. I'm going to just blow on this so it dries a little bit better. Okay. So what we're going to do after we draw is we're going to cut. Now I forgot to grab some scissors, so I'm going to go grab some scissors really quick. I had some in my desk. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on the inside, like right here. So I'm not cutting on this line, and I'm not cutting on this line. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. That's why we're not doing it with our X-Acto knife. And I forgot to mention that you needed these. There we go. You don't need the rest of that transparency film. Maybe you'll be able to share that with another person, so we're not being super wasteful, but it's okay if you don't. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to line up these lines with the picture frame. So like the center should fit in the center of this. And if it's a little off, it's okay. Okay, and then lastly, this is our last step. We're going to tape it down. This just makes sure that it won't move. Like you're putting your piece of glass in your picture frame. You don't want that piece of glass to fall out, so that's why there's those little hooks. We're putting tape down so this piece of transparency film does not move at all when we're looking at something. And again, I'll say this, it's okay if these aren't pretty because we're just using it to look at something. We're not using, this isn't our project in the end. Now I'm doing the sides and the corners. Transparency film is pretty light, so it might get caught in like the wind or the breeze if there's a breeze in here. There we go. Okay, and this is how you make a viewfinder. It's really easy, and it's a very helpful tool when you're drawing from life. So I'm just going to pull up some random stuff on my desk so you can kind of see what we could do with the viewfinder. Okay, let me move all this down a little bit. So we could use this viewfinder to look at this, and those little, the little grid that we drew will help us figure out where on the paper this should go. Okay, and it can help you with how big things are. Okay, this is a very helpful tool, and I really hope you use it when you draw.